It's moving, it's moving, it's moving.
It says I got a message that says the webinar is being live streamed.
Well, I figured it out. Hello, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome to today's Mike Lead Aspire session. I'm Mary Chady, CEO of Minorities in Cybersecurity, as well as Mike Talent Solutions. And I have one of my favorite trainers here today. And I apologize now if it just turns into two girlfriends just having a conversation. It is what it is. But as we talk through in these sessions, of course, are about transitioning into the cybersecurity profession and giving you guys tips and tricks and tools to do so successfully. Within these conversations, especially here with Dean, we're focused on the non-technical stuff. Now, what you're going to hear a conversation with us about, and Dee is one of our Mike lead trainers. You're going to hear us talk a little bit more about you as a person and how you are going to develop or how you go about developing your career. But let me stop and pull back and say, welcome, 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 Dee. It's good to see you.
Thank you. It is wonderful to be here. As always, a pleasure to be in your presence, Mary, but also in any way that I can pour into Mike and Mike's talent, it gives me great joy to do so.
Yes, yes, yes. So, if you're watching on the YouTube channel or if you're here with us locally, you can put any questions that you have in the chat. I'm trying to monitor all of that as well. But and then like and subscribe. Again, we have a bunch of content out there. So we've been trying to monetize this page for a couple of years, and but y'all don't do what y'all supposed to do. But that's okay. But all that to be said, I'm going to allow Dee to introduce herself and also give us her history of her ebbs and flows through the cybersecurity profession, but what her heart is and what she does for Mike. So I'll go ahead and let you go from there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Denitra Letrice. Everyone calls me Dee. I am currently um, working in conjunction. I'm adjacent to the cybersecurity space as the organizational change management consultant for a very large group, including cybersecurity at a Fortune 100 company right now. I also own my business, Letrice, and I focus there on personal development as it relates to every area of your life. And one of those is, of course, your career. My belief from that perspective is how you show up anywhere is how you show up everywhere. So we get to the root of empowering you, understanding the value that shows up when you walk in the room. So then the goals and the careers and the dreams become easy. Mary, you talked about that I'm not in technology. That is true disclaimer. I don't know no code. The closest I know to code is one time I watched The Matrix and I saw the ones and the zeros. That is my extent of what I know about coding. But for the last, believe it or not, 30 years, I have been in the technology space in some form or fashion, either leading teams or leading strategies on how to develop people in those spaces. Even what I do now around organizational change management, it is building the leadership capacity to lead others through change, which you know in a technology environment is ever present and ongoing. So I'm really excited to be here and share my expertise, my road, my journey, and all that goodness with anyone who can find some value in it.
Absolutely. And you can say the name because they're a sponsor, so it's okay. They
Okay,
allow us to say that.
I'm with Mass Mutual. That's my day job.
They're a sponsor. They're okay. They're okay. So let's go all the way back. So
Yeah.
30 years is a long time, right? And I love your story. I love your origin story. I love how you got started in the space, in the technology space. And then we're going to progress because what individuals need to understand is it is those ability, that leadership ability to lead through change, to become an effective leader that will get you through to certain spaces. But let's go all the way back. I like your Comcast story. Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
your
yeah,
data center story.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so
Oh,
even before Comcast, let's look at that for a second, Mary.
okay. Okay.
Started in a department store. I was working in the women's section of the department store. I was doing long hours and shifts. I was in high heel shoes on my feet all day. And one evening, randomly, I am passing out a customer. The phone rings. I pick up the phone while still engaging the customer. I say, excuse me for 1 second. I have to check on an item. I'm still talking to the customer while I check the item. I tell them, yes, I have the item. Come on down. And I'm still laughing and talking with everybody. And the line has 4 people in it. So I'm engaging all 4 people. I have them laughing and now talking to one another. And the last person in the line was a woman by the name of Charlotte Wilson. And she handed me her little items and she said, I need you to come work for me. And I was like, I heard about this. Stranger danger, this might be a scam. And she said, no, I am a director at the call center at Comcast. And what I just watched you do, you engage every space, whether it was in person or on the phone, anything else I can teach you, come work with me. That is how I got to Comcast. And then once I was there, call it inquisitive mind, call it being nosy, call it what you need to call it, but it changed my life. I was over answering questions I didn't want to about people's bills. That was boring. You know what you bought. But they had this brand new technology that was coming out. It was all the buzz in the environment. And I'm really dating myself. This is how you'll know I'm being honest about 30 years. This cutting edge technology was voice over IP. It was a big deal. And I was like, I am so interested in this. Tell me everything, because I'm a little bit of a nerd. And moved into that team based on my curiosity and desire to learn. They were so impressed that I wasn't intimidated by it. From there, I went from Comcast, rose in ranks a little bit there, became a supervisor at Comcast, had a friend that was working at this research company in Connecticut called Gartner. And I'm like, well, what do y'all do over there? And they were like, well, we do IT research. Well, what is that? I've never even heard of that. What do you do? Well, we go out, gather information, and then we teach companies the best road to do this IT stuff. And I was like, that sounds interesting. Can I come over there? And they were like, well, funny enough, we have a lot of people here who are heavily tech savvy, but maybe they didn't go to prom or they don't do people skills well. So we have a gap for the special skills that you have. Why don't you come on over? So I spent, I think, a total of like 4 years with Gartner IT research. And then a friend from Comcast called me and said, hey, we got some manager positions open. Do you want to come back? And I said, as a matter of fact, I do. And I went back to Comcast for about a year and a half. And a friend of mine said, you know, they're looking for managers now at Gartner. And I said, you don't say. I happen to be a manager. And so I went back to Gartner. And I'm focusing specifically on that, Mary, because this idea that we have that you will get this job, which then gets you this job, and it looks like a corporate ladder. I'm not even sure who came up with the term corporate ladder. Mine was trampoline. Some of mine was coming in the back door. Some of mine was sticking a leg in the window. Like whatever I needed to do to reach my goal is what I did to meet it. So from Gartner, I was in relocation for a time. From relocation, an old boss at Gartner called me up and said, hey, I'm at Mass Mutual now. Would you like to come on board? And I said, as a matter of fact, I am available. And there I entered as a director on the help desk and did that for 6 years before the CISO said to me, hey, I really like your energy. Would you like to come over to cybersecurity?
Keep going. You ain't finished.
I was going to say, and so within cybersecurity, again, because I'm not a techie, I'm not an engineer, I like to think of myself as the bridge between highly technical people and the business people who use technology, right? That's not something that shows up in college courses as a defined set of skills. but it is a gap in most corporations. So I just took what I was good at and showed them how I was the solution to the problem they were having. Once I did that role for approximately 2 years, there were some changes in the organization, and I decided I was best suited, instead of working for a group in cybersecurity of 150 people influencing change there, I could go out into the broader IT organization and impact 500 people instead. So, yeah.
Yes, well, that is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. That was the professional corporate side. Now we're gonna talk about your passion because that's where we jive, that's where we vibe in
Yeah.
regards to, I don't know if I know this, but what made you get into what's your origin story in regards to coaching and
It,
having a coaching business?
it's interesting. I realize now, looking back on my life, I have been coaching forever. My oldest lifelong childhood friend, we were 9 years old when we met. Our birthdays are 2 weeks apart. And we met at a birthday party, and she said, I don't even remember whose birthday party it was, but I remember you started talking and telling me about how wonderful I was and what was possible in my life and how I could do things. And I sat there and listened to you. We didn't play any games. I don't remember that child opening no presents. We were just, so I can't not do this, right? And I think it's important to call that out because so often there are things that come naturally to us that we take for granted because we've been doing it forever. I would like to offer to your audience that there may be a way to make a living, build a business, supplement your income, doing the things that you can't live without doing naturally. So about 2018, I went to a program for IT management, specifically for African American leaders. And I thought they were going to teach me how to be a more senior, tenured, older white gentleman. Because up until that point in my career, all of the leaders above me were that. So I thought they're going to teach me how to fit the navy blue blazer and calm down and fit in a little bit more. And in that program, I had a director of the program who would actually say to me, Dee, what do you think the people in the class would hear? And then she would go sit down and I would lead portions of what we were learning. And I realized that I would do this for free. And someone said, you're coaching. Is that what I'm doing? You're training. Is that what y'all do? You know that you're a motivational speaker? Really? And the final cement on it for me, Mary, happened about 2020. Tony Robbins gave a free session. All you had to do was register and log in. And at the time, I was working on a concept called Change Your Story, Change Your Life. And the core of that is if you change what you're telling yourself, it will change your whole life. And so there we are, and I had some friends dial in, and it's about 30 minutes in, and he only had one PowerPoint slide. And on that slide, there was some animation, and it dropped in. One of the bullet points was change your story, change your life. And I said, you mean to tell me I am operating on the same principle that this multi-millionaire, decades-long motivational speaker is operating? Well, I respect everyone, but I understand that gift is no respecter of person. So I'm just like him. So if he's making multi-million dollars, I could do this business thing and get a taste too. And that is
There
how I
we go.
moved into executive coaching.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so let's back this out. Of course, this is meant for those that are looking to get into space, right?
Yeah.
Change your story, change your life. And of course, with our apprentices and because D is a coach to our apprentices as well. Um, we try to give them the other side of it, right? Because a lot of people come into cybersecurity, and I got them today. I want a job. And and I sit there And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, but what do you like to do? That's usually my first question. What do
Mm-hmm.
you like to do? What is it
Mm-hmm.
that you like to do? And then it's like, okay, so do you know how long? If you don't, if you are coming from a social economic disadvantage and you're trying to move into corporate spaces, how difficult that may be that you haven't even given thought to. So ground folks, if you will, on this journey, especially like I said, if you're coming from a background that you haven't been exposed, because I was never exposed to corporate America when I was younger. I had to learn it all on my own, right? And it was trial and error, which is why I have Mike and Mike talent to try to pass that knowledge on. But to be able to make that transition, because we though there are my trigger words. That's my trigger word is imposter syndrome. That's my trigger word. And and so talk to folks that are keep looking and in this space and can't find anything, and as well as try to help prepare them of what they need to ground themselves in to be successful.
There's so much to talk about, right, in what you said, but I'm going to start with this imposter syndrome. Imposter denotes that you didn't work for something. You just showed up here acting like somebody else. I know that I belong in every room I show up in because I know the blood, the sweat, the tears, the Kraft macaroni and cheese 3 times a day, the Cheerios with no milk. I know the price I paid to now sit in the rooms where I sit. I also know that I am the granddaughter of a sharecropper in 1940s North Carolina, where I can quite vividly remember in the 80s visiting my grandparents and hearing people call my grown granddaddy boy in front of my adult father and myself, right? I'm also a child of subsidized housing. We were in housing for most of my childhood. That's where we went. And so we were in the duplexes, and then up the street was the project and the reduced or free lunches and all of that. I was a part of that. Both of my parents, for their entire careers, were spent in factories. I remember trying to explain the merit of college to my father because to him, you can just come to this good factory and get these good 80 hours. They got lots of overtime. You can just come do this, right? And then I get into corporate America, and it wasn't that I felt imposter syndrome, but when I entered in the 90s, there were not a lot of Black people in the spaces I was in, especially not in technology. Even when I came to my current company in Mass Mutual 10 years ago, I went to it was the first day I was invited to an IT leadership meeting. I walk into this huge conference room set up like an amphitheater, and we're just in time. The leader's about to start talking, and I walk in with a young man who was Jamaican, had dreadlocks, and we find our seats and we sit down. And I lean over to him and I say, "It's nothing Black in here but me, you, and some food," right? Now, the company has done a great, great effort at including and diversifying the workforce. But at that time, the reality was I was still in an environment where people were asking me to touch my hair, right? And I came in thinking all of the social norms that were taught at home. Here's the big one. I was taught when someone else is speaking, you don't speak. In some of these corporate environments around a table where it's heated and you're trying to make an urgent decision, it feels like double dutch trying to find, like they're not even breathing at this point. Everybody's just talking, and how can I get in there? And so I've raised my hand, like point, point, call it speaker, somebody, call her on the line. And one of my leaders, a woman, leaned over next to me and she said, "Don't raise your hand. It gives away your power." I said, my mama might come up from the grave and pop me in the mouth if I start talking over these people, right? So there's some culture differences that we have to get used to. That doesn't mean I was not intelligent enough to do the job. That does not mean I wasn't capable of doing the job. In fact, I would even argue that I was a competitive advantage because all of them had like experiences, like backgrounds, like thinking, like education, and I am the anomaly in the room that is asking them, have you thought about this? And they're like, no, we didn't even think, oh my goodness, you saved us time, you saved us money, you saved our reputation by giving us that bit of insight that we wouldn't have had without you. So I think it's imperative, one, if you're hearing somebody use the word imposter syndrome, I want you to go la 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 la, so you stop ingesting that. Secondly, if that word comes into your mind, I want you to speak to yourself and say, that's not true. That's something I heard someplace. That has nothing to do with me. Because I promise you, anywhere you have shown up, you have worked really, really hard to be there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so let's go back to those, like I said, the ones that are trying to get into space,
Yes.
right? Now they're just trying to get in the room to feel some imposter syndrome. So
Mm-hmm.
we start talking about resiliency in the application process, right? And one of the things that you said is one of the things that I've known or it happened to me in my career. It was more so people looking at me saying, hey, you know, I want you to come here to work for me. Or, I mean, my very first job in cybersecurity was because I knew someone.
Yes.
And so the value of networking and we're getting away from in the society specifically human interaction, which
Yes.
is causing its own cybersecurity issues,
Yes.
and own issues. I'll interject a story that I heard earlier this week in regards to, I mean, and you see it out there. People are getting jobs that are not qualified to get the job, or they're
Yes.
not the person that the person hired, or they pretended that they were somebody else because they used AI and a chatbot to get these roles or whatever. And so we're getting away from that human to human interaction and connection, which is causing us really to get frustrated with the job process,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because they're out there, they're applying, and they're not getting any answer, but they're not getting up out their house and going to events to talk to people.
It's so interesting, Mary, because in the last 10 years, I have only given a resume on request, but I've had 5 roles. 10 years has literally been who I knew. They were clear about who I was and what I could do. And they tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, do you want to come do this thing? Right? There have even been some instances where there was no role. And they said to me, what do you want to be doing? Because what you possess is so valuable. If you want to come over here and crochet, as long as you come over here, you can crochet, right? I'm being facetious. Nobody is paying me to crochet, y'all. But the point is, if I did not make strong connections, so how do you make strong connections, Steve? Well, I have a principle that I am never, the current role, the company I'm with right now, Mass Mutual, was with someone that I worked for in 2006 at Gartner, got promoted in 2015 at Mass Mutual, and said, hey, do you want to come work for me again? Now, I actually quit that job in Gartner in 2006. And so I reminded this gentleman, do you remember that? You remember when I pulled you in that office and quit? And he said, yes, I do. And I also remember that you were a truth teller, that you have a heart for your people, that you know how to inspire and motivate and capture the heart of a team. And those are not skills I can readily find on a resume. So build a resume and then go apply for this job so we can get you up in here, okay? Right? But it's the networking. Here's the other thing, Mary, that most people don't realize about me, right? I'm a trainer, I'm a coach, I'm a motivational speaker, I'm a leader and influencer in Mass Mutual, but I am also an introvert. Yes, you can be a yapper and be an introvert. I am living proof, right? So when I think about networking events for the sake of networking, I get overwhelmed, I get nauseous. My mind thinks of 97 things that I could be doing instead of walking into that room. It's like my palms, you would think I'm the third grader about to stand up in front of the class and give my book report. But if I focus on finding networking events, find people that are doing what you love, go be there with the intention of talking to one person, not talking to a room full with people, and discovering what do they do so that you're also not forced to do this used car salesman thing that sometimes happens at networking events like, hey, you want to make a handshake? And I don't do all of that. Tell me about yourself. What do you do? What lights you up? If you could do one thing that had if you had all the money in the world and you could do one thing forever, what would that be? And then I'm listening on how I can support their vision with the skills that I already have. Because I would tell you this too, Mary, if you can use what you do to strengthen, promote, or develop someone else's vision, they will be trying to find you a W-2 before the little networking event is over. Even in our case, Mary posted on LinkedIn that she was looking for a communication trainer. I know that I'm a communication trainer. I said to myself, you know what, though? I think I can do that. Or at least let me have the conversation to find out more. And Mary and I started talking. Now, all I'm looking is for a way to pour into people. We started talking, and I'm like, you mean to tell me you have a whole company, nonprofit designed to pour into people? And as we were talking, it turned out that one, the company where my day job was already a sponsor of MiC, and someone on the board of directors had already mentioned me by name. So again, the benefit of relationship.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You don't know what, it in talking to people and being able to understand what it is that person does. And really it's not a transactional type of thing. It's
Yeah.
really honestly getting to know people. Because what I do at networking events, I am 50-50 as well. I'm
Mhm.
an introvert unless I have to be an extrovert. And I will tell one Vegas story. I was sitting at the bar in Vegas because I was in Vegas this past weekend, and I was just sitting there. I'm sitting there at the bar and waiting on my food, and this young girl, she sits next to me and she picks up a conversation and and I don't tell people my bad. I'm cybersecurity. First of all, I got a cybersecurity story about Vegas too, but I don't really tell people my story.
Mhm.
But she was pulling it out of me, right? So she was asking me questions. And then I finally said, oh, well, yeah, I'm a lawyer. I graduated number 2 in my class. And she said, I would start the conversation there, Mary. I was like, wait a minute. I said, I'm sitting here trying to enjoy my flight and
And
my
get a little
fish.
food. Yeah.
Not trying. She's a younger girl. And then her and her friends came over and we all had a great conversation. They connected with me on LinkedIn and everything else. But one of the other stories that I had is I'm sitting there at the bar again, but this is for breakfast. I wasn't drinking.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
think
Okay.
I
I was
don't
gonna
think
say
so.
at the bar again. Okay. Go ahead.
But I'm sitting there having breakfast, and this guy sitting next to me is on his laptop or his tablet, and he's typing or whatever. And then before he leaves, he looks at me. He said, "Can you watch this?" And he leaves that darn thing and his phone unlocked, sitting next to the cybersecurity person. Now, I started to be real petty and take a picture and then post it. I did, but I was like, no, I just said, this is why cybersecurity will never go anywhere because you don't know me from an atom, and you left this laptop unlocked, and you done went to the bathroom. And okay, I'm sorry. Those are my two stories for Vegas. But talking to people, and that's one of the things that's a skill now that
Yes.
unfortunately, and I don't know if it's COVID, I don't know what it is with the younger generation or the fact that it's remote, but you start talking about one, your brand and reputation and the importance of that and how people respect you for your brand. They don't understand that. And then we start talking about being able to conversate, even to explain yourself. It's like I get some of young professionals or people who coming into cybersecurity and they're just like, I'm here. What are you gonna do for me?
I think it starts with Mary having a clear understanding and inventory of who you are, right? So my advice would be for anyone, and I do this for myself often. I call it talk my ish, except I don't say ish when I call it to myself, right? Telling myself who I am. And that's before the cybersecurity skills, that's before the coaching, that's before all of that. It is regardless of title, who are you at your essence? I know I am a woman of integrity. If I say a thing, it is a thing, right? If I tell you I'm going to be here, I am here, right? I know that through all those things that I talked about earlier, the sharecropper grandfather, the growing up in project housing, the not always having enough food, I know I'm resilient, right? I know I adapt easily, whether it was being in a marriage, whether it's co-parenting in a divorce. If you tell me what needs to get done and I will get it done. That's called agility, adaptability, right? Those are some of the buzzwords. Again, it starts with an inventory of us because we have these skills innately in us. We just have to translate them to corporate speak. The other thing, Mary, too, is in both of those instances, you talked about being introverted, right? So yes, I'm out here in the public with the people, but it's really peoply out here. So I'm just trying to enjoy my thing and do what I do. And people talk to you. Well, they talk to you because you're approachable, right? So even in those networking environments, I'm walking into this happens to me a lot in an airport. Internally, I'm like, the threat could be anywhere, right? It's all those people moving around. And I sit down and I don't care where I am, whether it's an airport in Belize, whether it's an airport in Alaska, I don't care where I am, someone will approach me. All I have to do is smile and they begin the conversation. So let's also demystify that you have to go in and chat up people when you're in these new environments as well. All you have to do is be approachable. Well, how does that happen? Well, that's body language. That's the nonverbal stuff that we talk about. So if you walk in a room and you refuse to make eye contact with anybody, you probably have eliminated your chance of making a real heartfelt connection, right? You're holding your head up. You're smiling, right? Nobody's forcing you to be there. You're trying to get this money, right? You're making eye contact. Hey, what are you up to, right? You're matching people's body energy. You're squaring your shoulders. You keep your feet planted. I know this all sounds elementary, but really I want to reinforce this because a lot of people, even like myself, my day job, I'm 100% remote. I'm here in this room by myself, Monday through Friday, all by myself. It can be jarring if that has been your whole career to then have to go into public spaces and present and be in your body as you show them why you should be in their job.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, developing those communications, because of course, within the lead programs themselves on the MiC side, we don't really get into any technical training. We get into technical training through apprenticeships and upskilling. But the lead program is about leadership development. It's about what you talked about, even with the conference workshops that we go through. It's about how you show up,
Yes.
right? And I tell people Your resume will get you the interview, but it is your interpersonal skills that make them want to hire you,
Mhm.
right? Because that interview is it's more so how do they fit with the team,
Yes,
right?
and
Oh, what it go ahead.
I was gonna say, and so fit is a bad word in corporate, so they're not gonna say fit, right? They're gonna say things like, they're gonna do a lot of psychological questioning, but what they're really doing is trying to determine if your core values through your actions, because we demonstrate our values through your actions, are in alignment with their core values. So they're going to say stuff like, tell me about a time you had to collaborate with multiple teams. That means collaboration and community is one of their core values, and they want to make sure you have what it takes to align in that space. If mental agility or adaptability or resilience is, they're going to say, tell me about a time that you were doing something and it didn't work out the way you thought. What did you do then? They want to see how nimble you are. How do you problem solve? How do you overcome obstacles and challenges, right? Don't get tripped up on the language. Think even before your interview, start prepping yourself. When are some examples in a work environment where I had to work with different generations? There are 5 generations of people right now in the workplace. That doesn't mean your team is going to have all 5 generations. That means they're somewhere in the mix, right? When's the time? And that may mean if you're young in your career, you don't have much experience. That may mean the time that you help grandma and dad and mom and those cousins from out of town set up this big function, family reunion. Now, I don't want you going in there talking about who was going to bring the tater salad. That's not what I mean. But you can show the practical skills that it took to organize that, to translate, to problem solve in people. Because that's the other thing, Mary. Cybersecurity or not, when you are in a work environment, it is people. It is not technology that is the prime thing. It is people. They will design your solutions. They will hinder you rolling out those solutions if you haven't gotten them on board. They will say yes to your money or no to your money. So focus on the people. You can learn the technology, right?
People, process, technology. Those are the foundational elements of cybersecurity. First one being people. Because
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm here to tell you, I don't care what you've been hearing on these streets, but AI is not taking your job. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give you what's happening and how you can hack this, right? AI may be taking away routine, mundane tasks of getting D's laptop off the network to get it virus scanned and then getting it back on the network. But AI is not going to say if D and Mary are at a conference in Vegas and now all of a sudden we're logged in and we're going somewhere and we're logged in China. AI may figure that context out. Bad example, but if the L1 analysts they're moving away from this L1, L2, L3 analysts, and the cybersecurity analysts, the entry level analysts are now being asked to add business contacts, and
Mm-hmm.
all that really means is that you actually gonna have to talk to more people because cybersecurity we identify problems and beg somebody to fix them. We are not the fixers. We identify, right?
That's
Is that
so good,
fair?
Mary. That that
Mhm.
is that is spot on. That is, I'm telling you, because I'm in the meeting with the application support team, trying to show them that there's a vulnerability and telling them based for us, the whole company to be in compliance. I know you all had a project that you thought was really, really important, but I'm telling you, I need you to move this up in front of that project. I need you to dedicate time, resources, your team, all of that to getting this done. because it doesn't matter if you're delivering a new pouch. If you left all doors and the windows open, the robbers will come in and get your pouch, right? That is the reality of it. Funny story, Mary. Back in May, I had a new leader come onto my team, and we were in our first one-on-one session talking about my development. And he said, well, Dee, tell me what you want to do. And I was like, I'm so happy you asked. I have an idea. I want to learn how to develop an AI agent that will replace me. Here's the thought. I pour all of my knowledge in there, all of the industry research, all of the good stuff, so that someone starting a project will go in and type the specifics about their project, the scope, what they're trying to do, and it will tell them what change management they need to do on the project instead of me. And I figure it's only going to take me 2 years, and I'll work myself out of a job. What do you think? You know that man laughed at me. You know that man laughed at me, Mary. He said, I'm so excited. Go do it. But it's so funny that you think you worked yourself out of a job when you really just worked yourself into a new one, because now you need to be the human behind the AI.
Exactly.
So I underscore what you're saying, that AI is not really it is taking jobs that exist currently, but it is also building jobs that aren't even here yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think about the AI ethicists and people looking at the ethics of the AI. Yeah, of course, and we teach, well, I teach the elementary information security to our apprentices. And I've been doing this chapter on encryption, and it talked about encryption algorithms, and essentially public exposure of the algorithms makes them stronger. And so that made me think about the algorithms of AI and how organizations are using copyright or certain protections to prevent people from actually testing the algorithm, which in of itself makes it weak. And because if it was that good, you would open it up to the public and say break it or try to break it. Right. And so it's just like we keep repeating these same problems, and it's going to be, I said it's going to be a cyber 911 situation that's going to occur if we just keep blindly allowing technology to do stuff without, looking over its shoulder, so to speak.
I was going to say, so you are even discussing a brand new space, a brand new industry, which is cybersecurity risk as relates to AI, right? Because I don't know, most people think when they think AI, they're thinking Chat GPT or some like thing that we use in our personal usage, right? That is not the AI that happens inside corporations, right? And right now, what's happening is enterprise AI, and I can tell you this from experience, is limited as to what it can serve. Because Lord forbid it has the 23 flavors in the KFC somewhere, so it's blocked. There's currently, that I know of, no one who is doing red hat or black hat or any intentional pen testing on enterprise AI. I just made up a whole new industry that doesn't even exist, but it's going to need to, as you pointed out. So the other thing I want to talk about too is I know it's wonderful to look at the career board and see what job is out there, but think about this instead. What if you logically determine the next job that hasn't even been built yet? Then when you go to a networking event and someone says, what do? You can say, I'm really passionate about this space and it's underexplored and it's underdeveloped, but it's where I'm passionate. Next thing you know, you have a speaking engagement, you're talking to, it literally happens just like that, right? Mm-hmm. You find the gap, you make you the thing that fills the gap. And I'm also going to dare I say, you could also start writing your checks. If you are one, If you are the answer to a problem that they're having, it's a lot more negotiation than just we have a need and do you want to fill it or not.
No, you're absolutely right. And then that we're going to explore this at the conference next year, which is the entrepreneurial mentality, right? And being able to, deduce or to, as you pointed out, look at something logically and critically think about where the next iteration of that's going to be and be there instead of being here, being on the other side. And those, dare I say, because I'm out there, right? I have two companies. That's all I do every day, all day, work hard every day. But filling that gap and filling that role and filling that need and being able to critically think. That's a complaint that I hear from industry folks about cybersecurity professionals or younger cybersecurity professionals. They don't know they lack critical thinking skills. I'm like, okay, well, you do know that they just came out of school, right? They may be 20 something. They haven't really had a lot of problems to think through.
I was just talking about this. So this week, Monday through Thursday, I was on site doing a client engagement in a Fortune 500 company that does finance. And we talked a little bit about this from K through either 12 or even if you go get your undergrad, right? You do some stuff. People tell you you did a good job. You get an A on your paper, right? So you follow the directions that they told you to come out with the answer that they say is right. That is not real life. That is not corporate America. That is not what we need. I'm not saying we did y'all wrong, young people, but we did you wrong. We did you wrong. So think about it like this. I like to use real world examples. If you're driving in your car and suddenly your tire goes out, after pulling the car to the side of the road, please tell me you know how to do that part. Pull it to the side of the road. What do you start doing next? Are you calling a towing company? Maybe people were waiting on you. You need to call them and tell them what happened so they're not waiting. That's critical thinking. You took a problem and you reacted to all of the elements that were impacted in the situation. Why people come into a corporate job and then go, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't understand that. The other thing I want to make clear is when you do get the job, and you will get the job, your career development, what you do next, is not your boss's responsibility. Again, I know in school, your little third grade teacher said Johnny could go to the fourth grade and promoted you. That is not how this works. Your leader, your manager is a resource to get you where you want to go, but it is not their responsibility to find something next for you to do. You should be in your role. Let me also say this: learn what you're being paid to do first.
That part.
Once you have that locked in, put your head up and start swiveling it around to figure out what you want to do next. And it goes right back to what we talked about again, identifying a gap that someone has and figuring out how you can fill it, right?
Absolutely.
So I also want to encourage this, right, Mary? Mary and I are going through the same journey right now, and that our daughters have just gone off to college, freshman year. It was along about senior year that I started getting worried that maybe I had done too much for my child. Right? She is on that campus right now sending me videos of her doing her laundry, and the laundry is sorted. You mean you figured it out? You mean you knew how you're capable?
All along.
All the time that I'm doing the whites and the darks and the colors and all that, this child could have done her laundry. I say that to say this, though. Don't be intimidated because you've never done it before. You are intelligent. You are determined. We've already talked about what you had to go through to get here to this point, so you are resilient, right? You can easily adapt because you went from non-corporate to corporate. You can get in there and figure out how to master any space you're in. I don't care, respectfully. I'm not asking you to stay in a toxic work environment. That's not what I'm saying. I am offering not to let somebody else's personality run you out of your paycheck. Because you can adapt and move and shift, right? At least to the point where you have time to go find you else something new. There are strategies. You have MiC to rely on if you are a part of MiC. MiC has Miss Mary, it has trainers, it has coaches, it has alumni. That's your network. Let me offer this to you as well. If you say, D, I hear you, but still a lot of people in a room, I don't do that well. Okay. Come to the MiC conference in 2026. Practice networking. There's going to be a game night, maybe some karaoke, but it's also going to be some good stuff about cybersecurity, about developing you as a person and as a leader in an environment where there are like-minded people who have either been through what you've been through or are currently going through what you've been through. Network there. Let that be your practice opportunity.
Absolutely. Questions. If there are any questions, please type them in the chat, the Q&A. We only have, I knew this was going to happen. We only got 5 minutes left. I knew that was going to happen. If you guys have any questions, please type them in the chat or out there on the YouTube channel. If you're watching, please type them in the chat. But, I have one thing to say about that blown out tire because it happened to me. And one thing that made me mad is that my insurance company kept sending me to the app to fill out something, to have somebody come pick me. If you don't give me a person to talk to,
Representative, yes.
no, and literally when I called, sent me back to the app. We're gonna send you a text message.
Wow. I
I
didn't
was so
know
mad.
that.
I was so bad. And then okay, and my car said, it seems like you're in distress. Do you want me to call somebody? Damn it, yes. You AI, yes.
Thank
You
you. You understand me. You get me. Yes. Call me somebody. Call me somebody.
and the person called me. I'm like, thank you. But anyway, no, all fun and games as usual. D is always a great conversation. So we get into the final discussions and everything, and you've done a great job just laying it out. And I don't think individuals, I do this for a living, right? We've had over 250 people go through our apprenticeship program, and so we have folks that are really gun ho. That's like, hey, whatever you need, I got it. I'm here. I'm gonna do the work. And then we have those that be like, let me find something to do. And the commitment, it comes through.
Mm-hmm.
Your I tell people, I said, our program is 12 months. This is not a boot camp. You can lie to somebody for 6 weeks. You can't lie to me for 12 months.
That's right.
I'm
That's
I'm
right.
so sorry. I'm sorry. It's going to come through, and your characters are going to come through, and then valuing that, right, and then bringing that to the table. Nobody's going to hurt you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are in this field or want to be in this field. You have to take up your own space,
That's right.
right, and be confident as you step into those rooms. And it's gonna have to be developed. I am a natural introvert, just like Miss D is. But guess what? Ain't nobody gonna buy nothing for us as an introvert. You can't sell nobody nothing as an
No,
introvert. It's not gonna happen. So in order to be able to be an advocate, a motivational speaker, she can't be a motivational speaker if she don't know how to talk.
listen, Mary, I get up there, I get the microphone, I do my thing. I make one-on-one connections. I don't care how many people are in the room. When they turn that microphone off or unclip it from me, I go someplace and get into bed, right? But I still need to be able to flex that muscle and do that skill. I would like to also offer this. If you're saying to yourself, hey, I really want to get into cybersecurity, I want you to ask yourself, why? And I would caution you to say this. This is your Auntie D. Now, it's not Miss D, this Auntie D. It's got to be for more than the money. Because you can make money in other places and it'll be way easier for you to go do that thing and make the money over there. So this can't just be that your once college professor said the way to go is cybersecurity, now you're over here. You have to have a true passion and desire to be the front line, keeping the gate closed in order to do what it's going to need to take for continuous education, to keep your skills sharp, to be in your hotel room and suck it up and go down there to the networking thing and smile at all them people and shake hands, right? If that's truly your goal, if being in cybersecurity is truly your goal, it will make the cost of those other things that you need to do, including your certifications, showing up if you're in MiC Builders or Communicators program as required on a Saturday morning. The commitment will seem easy if this is really what you're called to do.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, my love, for being
You're
here
very
with me
welcome.
on a Friday night. I appreciate you, sis. Always, always, always. For those that are out there on YouTube and those that are here with us, like and subscribe to the channel. Again, we have these calls twice a month just so we can, breathe life into you guys to tell you not to give up, to really ground you in what this looks like for you in this path, what this path may mean, and the skills that you need to hone up on. So I appreciate you, Dean. I'll talk to you in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Everybody else, we'll see you guys, I think, next month. Yeah, I think our next call is October the 7th. So we'll definitely see you next time, and have a good weekend.
Be
Thanks
well,
again.
everyone.
Bye.